welcome to another family talk video. This one's gonna be, I think, maybe a little hard for me to get through. I had to make some notes on my computer over here so that I could stay on track, because this is a subject that takes up more brain space for me than I wish that it did, but just is one of those hard truths of life. So today we're gonna just talk a little bit about kind of my thoughts on like pregnancy body image. It's all personal. It's not like a self-help or anything talk. It's more just me rambling about pregnancy body image and kind of just my hopes for my postpartum journey and my postpartum body and stuff like that. So most of you probably already know this, but I have an almost 2-year-old, 21 months, a little boy, and then I am pregnant with a little girl, 9 months pregnant, actually 5 days out from a scheduled C-section. So that's a different topic for a different video on a different day, but I will be having a C-section within this week. So hopefully this is the last time I'm pregnant. I am very grateful for the experience of being pregnant. Not the best at being pregnant. For sure one of those women that's just not very good at being pregnant. Don't enjoy it. Do see the blessing in it. But just because you see the blessing doesn't mean you have to love it. So hopefully this is my last season of pregnancy. Obviously we say all of that with the grain of salt, knowing that God can do whatever the heck God wants to do. And Bryce and I will just lay on the floor and cry if we have another baby, but I'm sure we'd be grateful for more kids. We just hope that's not in the plan. So I thought I really struggled with pregnancy body image and postpartum body image after Zeke and with Zeke. So I thought, I'm only in this season, hopefully one more time, let's talk about it. So, I have always struggled with body image. I don't know why. I didn't grow up in a family that, said you had to be skinny to be worthy or anything like that. We had our own host of issues, but that wasn't one of them. I did have like very little control when I was younger and in my life, and I wonder sometimes, did my need to control my body image help satisfy that need for control? I don't know. I don't know where it came from. My parents would make comments sometimes about other people's bodies, but it wasn't anything super extreme where they were like, if you're not skinny, we don't love you. So I'm not really sure where it came from. But it's always been there. It's always been a struggle. It was a struggle before getting pregnant, and then it was a struggle after being pregnant with Zeke too. And yeah, I just guess I want to talk about it because I just want you to know, if you have the same struggles, you're for sure not alone. Or if you don't have those struggles, you can be like, thank God I'm not that crazy. Another thing that doesn't help when you have body image issues is when you're pregnant, they just are like, you should expect to gain weight. It's okay. Just let it go. Don't worry about that. You're going to gain weight. You're making a baby. You're creating new life, blah, blah, blah. And while that is all true and it's all great, it's the equivalent of telling somebody who has anxiety or depression to just not be anxious or depressed, right? It doesn't really help. You're like, yeah, well, that would be great if I could feel that way, but I don't feel that way at all. So what happens is you have this whole body image issue as you're gaining weight through pregnancy. And you're like, this is so counter to everything that I think and feel. And then on top of it, you're stuffing your feelings down about it and just trying to be kind of la-di-da and oh, it's no big deal. Because you know that the main response you're going to get from people is well, you're pregnant. You're supposed to gain weight. It's healthy for you to gain weight. So even my sweet, amazing, kind husband does that sometimes. He doesn't, nobody means any harm by it, but it just doesn't necessarily help every time. So, a little bit maybe about my weight changes, just, in general, just if you want to know numbers. when I got pregnant with Zeke, I was 128 pounds and I got up to 155, 160, somewhere around like the 25 poundish mark. And then after Zeke, I think the lowest I got down to is 138. Now I was weightlifting during that year and a half, year between having Zeke and getting pregnant with Valley. I was weightlifting a lot and doing a lot of spin class. So I was putting on a lot of muscle. So I wouldn't say that I had trouble losing that 10 pounds of baby weight that was still left over. My body composition was just different. And so with Valley, I have gone up to, I was pregnant at 138 is when I got pregnant, and 138 pounds. And then I have gained 25 or so pounds. I'm like 165. So whatever that math is. I'm not even gonna pretend like I know how to do math. Listen, just because you're good at science doesn't mean that you're good at math. So in the 25, same weight gain kind of with both kids. And I definitely can feel it, like emotionally and physically. A lot of it, I think, too, she is much bigger. Your body changes so much with the second baby. Your body's like, we know what we're doing, and just expands itself out. So you feel almost bigger and you feel bigger quicker. And yeah, it doesn't help that I can't really work out. There was a small portion between maybe like 5 and 8 months, that like 3-month period where I was able to do some working out, and that was really helpful. I just worked out at home with some weights, but working out is really good for my mental health. It really helps me feel better about myself regardless of what I look like. But because I have such bad heartburn, I am so sick for the majority of my pregnancy, working out is just not really feasible. It just aggravates all of the GI symptoms that pregnancy brings on for me, which is the reason why I'm a really bad pregnant woman. So I tend to let working out kind of go by the wayside whenever I am pregnant. Anyways, so pregnancy body image has just been hard. The struggle hasn't gone away just because I'm pregnant and I'm supposed to gain weight, right? Like I still have bad days. I still have days where I think that I'm like ugly or not pretty or less than or whatever because of my body. And that's just not something that just goes away. It also just didn't go away when I became a Christian. Like, just because you become a Christian doesn't mean that all of your vanity and struggles that you brought into Christianity go away. They almost get worse. So, yeah. Let me go turn this washing machine, or let me actually just go close the door to my bedroom so I can stop hearing my washing machine. Okay, that's so much better. For me anyways, maybe you couldn't hear it, but I could hear it. So after I had Zeke, I still had these same struggles when I was pregnant with Zeke. Still felt awful about myself, felt awful about my body, hated the way I looked, was really, really hard on myself. And so after I had Zeke, I really struggled in postpartum, not with mental health so much as just like body image. I guess that is mental health based. So just struggled really hard with loving myself. And I nearly wiped myself out after Zeke. I was breastfeeding at the time, and when I started working back out, when I was released to work back out, I went so hard into working out, and I didn't eat enough, worked out constantly, pushed myself, would be running 30 to 40 minutes in like 90-degree weather, just dumb. And my breast milk plummeted. And that was really frustrating because I was pumping, I had gone back to work, but I was pushing myself so hard to lose all this baby weight that I ended up like destroying my milk supply, which our goal had been to try to breastfeed for a year. And I only made it 6 months, which is still great. Any amount of breastfeeding or no amount of breastfeeding, just feeding your baby whatever is great and an accomplishment in and of itself. It was just that I really sacrificed that goal for the goal of trying to get back into weight, or into this like perceived weight that I needed to be. And I didn't feel any like better about myself, you know? So, yeah, I would just like wipe myself out. And I was, like I said, I was working out constantly, and I was pushing myself so hard. We also got to the point where we were, started doing, my lab that I work at started doing COVID sequencing, and we became the only lab that sequenced COVID for variant detection for the CDC. And so I was working really hard too. My whole team was working really hard. And I would still force myself to go to the gym at night to do like a spin class or whatever. And there would be days when I would literally cry going to the gym because I didn't want to do it. And I was sad, and I wanted to be with my family, and I was tired. And I was sacrificing what little time I actually had outside of work with my family to work out. And it was just like, I don't know, not great. It's not great it's one thing to just not want to go to the gym and not want to work out. It's another thing to be sobbing in your car because you don't want to go, but you've put all of this, you've like heaved all of these expectations on yourself, and you're not forgiving or kind to yourself. Totally two different things. Being lazy and then being cruel to yourself. Totally different. So, it also doesn't help that I was already pretty crazy from my hormones, right? Like you got a while, homegirl, of coming down from your hormones, and you're a little nuts, and that's okay. It's supposed to be that way. You're just pushed out a baby. I mean, it took you 9 months to get there. It's going to take you 9 months to come back down. So I was already a little crazy on top of my hormones, and then I was just forcing myself to work out like crazy. It was just nuts. And also back to breastfeeding, it had me maintain a lot of weight. So when I stopped breastfeeding is when I started to, I guess, tone up from all the weightlifting. But for a lot of people, breastfeeding doesn't just make you drop weight. It's kind of a myth. You actually don't consume as many calories producing breast milk as you think you do. I think it's like between 300 and 500 extra calories, which is really not a lot. And yeah, I was one of those women, and there are a lot of women out there. So if this happens to you, don't be shocked, because nobody told me that this was gonna happen to me, where you hold on to about like 10 extra pounds the entire time you're breastfeeding. And then if you're not eating appropriately on top of that, or you're putting a lot of stress on your body by like working out, your body will hold on to even more weight because it thinks that you're in starvation mode because you are producing breast milk. So your calorie intake does need to be higher. So after Zeke, it was just a whole slew of a mess. It also didn't help that we knew we were going to have our kids back to back, because I am so miserable when I'm pregnant. And I was like, let's just be miserable, tired, and broke because of diapers and high daycare tuition all in one short amount of time. They'll be close together in age. We can just kind of get everything over with. And Zeke won't really have a chance to know a life without a sibling. So the transition will be harder at first, but I think long term it would be better. So that's what we just decided to do for our family. So I knew that I only had about a year to 18 months where I was gonna have the ability to work out and to get back into shape before I had to go through another cycle of gaining weight. And so that didn't help either, because I put so much pressure on myself to lose all this weight and look so good and get back into the shape that I was pre-baby, which honestly, you just made a whole... Sorry, my husband and I think my baby just both made noise. You just made a whole baby. Like, your body isn't gonna be normal again. That doesn't mean it can't be better, but it's not gonna go back to this normal that you had before you had a baby. And I just didn't have any of those expectations, and I didn't have any of that grace for myself. So, yeah, all of that to say, after Zeke, my postpartum body image and workload was not good or kind or grace-giving or any of the things that you need it to be. Let's talk about what I hope to accomplish this postpartum journey and how I hope that this one is different and how I'm trying to set myself up for success in postpartum so that I don't fall back into all of those traps that I fell into last time and end up in the same bad mental place that I was in last time. Because I should note, I was so hard on myself that if I ate a cupcake or if I didn't work out, I would just rip myself to shreds in my head, and I don't want to be like that again. Let's just talk about everything, kind of that I have on my mind or that I'm doing so that I can not treat myself like that and give myself grace on the back end of this pregnancy. So my main hope, my main goal is going to be a cop-out, but it's true. I think sometimes you have to make cop-outs your goal. My main goal is that I am just overall kinder to myself and give myself a lot more grace. I think not having that pressure of I'm going to try to have another baby in a year to a year and a half will really help. Taking that pressure off will really help. But truly the only thing that's going to get me there is to rely on Jesus, because I am not kind to myself. I am not grace giving to myself. And I'm realizing that I need to be firmly planted in what God has said about me so that I can combat the things I'm saying about myself. That's really going to be it. And that really starts with knowing his word and his scripture. So in being kinder to myself, I am going to put more energy and effort into knowing who God says I am. And that is a journey, and that is Christian jargon to me all over. Just smeared Christian jargon all over that. Because a lot of people say know who you are in God, and God says this about you. But tangibly, that's can be really hard to see. And I think you kind of got to go find that for yourself. So my mission coming out of having a baby and when my mission during healing is going to be fighting to figure out who God says I am and putting that in my head enough that it drowns out what I say I am, because I am not kind to myself and I'm not loving. And I'm hoping that the more I sit at the feet of Jesus, the more I'm going to be able to learn kindness and grace for myself and grace for my body and grace for all of the things while I walk through this journey. So my main goal, kindness for myself, but I'm only going to be able to do it through the lens of Jesus and his word. But I say all of that and I'm going to sound like a total hypocrite, because I am a firm believer that you pray like it's up to Jesus and you work like it's up to you. So I do have a plan. There is a plan. There's a tiny plan. And just some ideas about what I think I can do to help me be successful on this journey. And the first one is going to be the biggest hurdle, which is trying to change my mindset. So I want to really get out of that diet culture, that vanity culture that's being skinny is the best option. I don't want that to be the best option. That might not even be an option for my postpartum body. I've had 2 kids, it just might not be an option. I'm never going to be a size 0 or whatever the world tells you that you have to be now. And honestly, luckily, we live in a world that in the last couple of years has really made it a point to be you can be a size 0 and that's great, but you can also be a size 12 and that's amazing. So at least we do have that. That's wonderful. But for my own mentality, I want to go from thinking skinny is best to strong is best. And whatever strong looks like is what I want to be at. And so I just really hope that I can shift into that and not work out and do all of these things with the hope of being a perfect size or whatever size I think I need to be. But instead think I want to be strong. So I want to strength train with the mindset of I'm not here to meet a size goal. I'm here to meet a strength goal. So that will be one of the biggest hurdles. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I will report back on how it's working out. I will give you an update on whatever that ends up looking like. What else? Okay. I do want to, one of my biggest diet hurdles, which I don't want to subscribe really to diet culture anymore, because A, we're called to something higher, and B, lifestyle changes, wholeness, wellness, like it's all diet culture. It's all just another form of diet culture, and it's not healthy for us. And it, like, things need to be more individual, more tailored to you as a person. And diet culture, wellness, health, all of that doesn't take in the whole person, including their life, what they like, what they enjoy, what they don't like, what does their lifestyle look like, all of that stuff. So I really hope that I cannot, succumb to lifestyle changes in diet culture. But one thing that I would like to do is get off sugar. Not for good, not totally. I don't believe in like going totally cold turkey, but I also don't believe in just having free reign over whatever you want to eat. Just because there's like a healthy level of discipline that you should have as a human being. And honestly, sugar, the older I get, makes me feel terrible. I love it in the moment. Ugh, love a slice of cake. Could crush an entire box of Oreos and love every second of it. But it's the aftermath. It's just how awful I feel. Like the shakiness, the heartburn, all of it. It just makes me feel like trash. And I have a really hard time regulating sugar in my life. And it's not gonna lead me down a good path. So that is one thing I hope that I can get under control, is my sugar intake, which I think then will help with my body image and the fact that I'll just feel better and I'll have more energy and I won't have these crashes. It's been really hard to regulate it during pregnancy because I don't feel good and I just want to eat my comfort food. So I'm hoping on the back end of this pregnancy, when I am feeling better, I can continue to go down this path of like eating less sugar. Okay, and then the last one is I want to allow myself to be okay with maintaining weight if it means that my breastfeeding journey is gonna be easier this time. I really hope that I can just give myself permission and grace to keep on as much weight as I need to in order to breastfeed. Like I said earlier, when I forced myself to work out all the time and tried to lose all that weight and wasn't eating right and all of that stuff, I wasn't looking at the bigger picture of like meeting this goal of breastfeeding, and it, like, my supply really plummeted. It was such a struggle by the end of it. And for another thing, my son was like way too skinny. The pediatrician eventually was like, you have to start supplementing with formula. He's too small. So, if I can give myself grace for that and just say, hey, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna allow this weight to stay on and we're gonna be okay with it. And we're gonna be okay with it because we know that this weight is necessary for breastfeeding and for like feeding your child. So I'm hoping that I can have a lot of grace and just allow myself to be okay with it. Because as an achiever, if I have a goal, I don't allow myself any wiggle room in that goal. And that's not grace giving. That's not what God does for us. And that's not what we're called to do for each other. And I would never, ever, ever treat a friend this way. And I would never, ever think about like a friend like this, or look at my friend and be like, wow, you really need to lose that weight after that baby, or ever be condemning. So why do I treat myself like this? You're the closest friend you have. And people say that, and that sounds, Christianese or whatever again, but it is true. You are stuck inside your own head. Like, why not be kind to yourself? And especially if hopefully you'd never be that way to somebody else. So why would you be that way to yourself? And I also do find, yeah. Anyways, I'm just rambling at this point. I hope this made sense. We're going to end this video. We're going to end this talk. I'm going to watch it back and hopefully it makes sense and has some cohesion. If not, I might need to write an even longer outline of what I need to say. I just think that I struggle with this so much that my head gets all like fluttery and all over the place and flippy and floppy and yeah, I don't know. I will for sure update you guys on how it turns out and how it's going, and any struggles that I have, any failures, any wins, any accomplishments. I'll talk about all of those in an update video in a couple of months. But yeah, I just wanted you to know you're not alone if you're struggling with this, and you aren't crazy or any of those things. Like, the world puts a lot of pressure on women, and if you've lived in that for a really long time, it can be really hard to let it go just because you're pregnant. So yeah, you're not crazy and you're not alone. Thanks for joining me for this weird and rambly video. Soon we'll have a baby. That's exciting. So I guess more on that as that develops or whatever. Anyways, I'm so grateful for you. Leave a comment down below if there's anything that you did to help give yourself grace or help you feel better postpartum or help you love yourself and your body more. Yeah, hopefully we'll talk again soon. Okay, bye guys.